Let me tell you about what I love to cook. Something called Capone agrodolce, and that translates to a sweet and sour capon. And this is something that is very much in the northern Italian tradition. In fact, capon is served in the region of Emilia-Romagna more than any other type of boiled meat. And we're going to make it today with a sweet and sour sauce. And to do it, you have to start out with some honey. So here's about 3/4 of a cup of honey in a bowl. And then you want a good red wine vinegar. That goes in. You want the zest of 4 oranges. A lot of orange zest in this, but it gives it a really great flavor. And if you don't have a nifty gadget like this, you ought to go out and get one, because that takes the zest without taking the pith. And the pith has a lot of bitter taste to it, so you don't want that in your sauce. And a little bit of salt goes in this. And I have soaked ahead of time a 1/2 cup of golden raisins. You want to soak those for about an hour or so before. And then all we do is mix this up. And then we want to use a very good extra virgin olive oil. So you make a little emulsion by drizzling in the olive oil a little bit at a time. And this smells good just the way it is right now. So the raisins go in. And then all of this goes into a saucepan. And mine is right here. So there it goes. And we'll come back and visit that a little later. Here is some fresh arugula. Now this has a very peppery taste. And I'm going to use this at the end after the capon is done. And all I do is take up and roll up a bunch of leaves and then get a nifty little knife like this. This is a cheese knife or a tomato knife sometimes it's called, but I like to use it for this because these are very tender leaves and it does a very nice job. So there we have just a little chiffonade. I'm going to leave that on the plate and use that later on. Now for the bird. A capon is a male chicken. And when you get this home, the first thing you have to do is look in the bird. People have been known to cook chicken with the chicken livers still in the plastic. So you take this out, and these can be used in cooking, obviously. Take out the neck. That's great in soup. And then you have to wash this. So let me set this aside. Take the bird over to the sink and give it a good wash. And I mean, you want to rinse this in cold water really well. Get any kind of blood that's still left in the cavity of the bird out so that it's nice and clean. This is a really critical part of this. Once the bird is washed, then shake it off, get some paper towels, and dry it off really well. And put it into a plate, just like that. Now I have to wash my hands, because when you're dealing with raw poultry, you always want to make sure that you wash your hands well in soap and water, hot as you can stand it. This is about 8 pounds, and usually capons run about that size. So in your soup pot, you want to place the capon, and it's a hefty guy, so you want to just grab it like that and put it in the pot. And then you want to cover that with water, cold water. So make sure you get it in so all the water will cover the bird. We have some celery. These are what the Italians call gli odori. The odori are the flavoring agents for soup, and also the departure for something called a sofrito when you're frying something. So this all goes in with the bird, and I like to use a nice huge onion. So get your onion in, and then we want to add some cloves. I think cloves make a really wonderful taste in soup, and all I did was take some whole cloves, some black peppercorns, and a bay leaf, put it into a little piece of cheesecloth, just like that, tied it with string. That goes in with the soup. It's a lot easier to get that out. You know, bay leaf can be very dangerous if you get little pieces of it in the soup. Then some sea salt, and you'll correct this later on again because, you know, soup is a very temperamental thing. And again, a little bit of pepper. Now, we cover that and bring this to a boil. This is going to take about 2 hours to cook. When it's cooked, the house will be smelling wonderful. Now you want to, we're doing the capon now with sauce, but the broth can be saved. You can save the broth, and that's what you use to cook cappelletti in. So I have my dish all ready. I'm going to move the sauce out of the way now so I can bring over my capon and show you this. And if it falls apart when you take it out, that's fine because you're going to be cutting this up anyway. So here is my hefty bird. I'm going to take him out right like that. I told you he'd fall apart, but that goes to show you how tender this is. And there it is. And you really hardly need a knife to cut this because the meat is just so tender. I mean, I could just take this off with my fingers. It's just so tender. And if you've never eaten a capon, you just don't know what you're missing. It is a very moist and delicious meat.